What's up, Hiker Trash? Today I want to make a video about the 5 things that I think is important to know before you walk the West Highland Way. Disclaimer, I will butcher probably both the English language, the Scottish language, and all the grammar in between. And before we get started, I want you to know that we went in September, so most of my points will probably be about September. The first thing you should note before walking the trail is how many days are you going to do it in. We went in 7 days. The reason I'm looking down is I'm looking at my schedule. I'm sorry, I do not remember all this by heart. Okay, let's get started. The route is split into 8 sections. First of all, it's from Milgard to Drimmen. That's a 12 miles or 19 kilometers walk. We went and stayed at Drimmen camping. It cost around £5 per person and it's just nice. And then we went from Drimmen to Ravn. That's a 14 miles hike, which is a 22.5 kilometer hike. Ravn Youth Lodge is where we stayed, and it was an awesome place. There was this really nice view. From Ravn we went to Invervornen. And in Vornen we stayed at Bangla's Farms for around £8. The thing about Bangla's Farm is that it's double-edged sword, because they both had the best bar, but they also have the most midges, and I'll be coming back to that. From Invervornen we went to Tindrum. We stayed at the By the Way hostel and campground for around £8 per person. They had a dry room, they had all the necessary commodities like a bathroom, a toilet and stuff like that. So with all these camping sites you just get bare necessities, but it's really nice. Then we went from Tindrum. The official route will tell you that you should go to Invervornen, which is a 9 miles, 14.5 kilometers hike. But we didn't do that because we wanted to do the trail in 7 days and not the 8 days. Some people even do it in 6 days. We went from Invervornen to Glencoe Ski Center Mountain Resort, where we paid £6 per person. But also one of the most beautiful places we stayed, because they have this giant overlook over like all of the Glen, I think it's called. And it was amazing, because it was also the most quiet night we had, because most of the time it's raining, but I'm also gonna get back to that. So we went from Glencoe Ski Center to McDonald Hotel in Kinlochleven, which was around £10 per person, which is also the most expensive of the whole trip. I don't think it's most expensive because of the commodities. Like, they have the same things as all of the other places. I think the only reason why the city is bigger, and also you kinda have to stay there when you're doing the regular trip. So, but it is a great. I have to say, it was a great place as well. They had a really awesome bar with a whole like mural dedicated to just like the West Highland Way. So that was awesome as well. Then we went from, of course, Kinlochleven to Fort Williams, 16 miles, 24 kilometers, and then we finished. In total, we spent £45 for camping each person. If you had to go to a city anyway and live for a whole week in Scotland, I think you don't get it any cheaper than this. Okay, for you wild campers out there, it is very much possible to do this in Scotland because of the Scottish Outdoor Access Code, which makes it legal to camp on most unclosed lands throughout Scotland. It's important to know that some of the camping areas around Loch Lomond on the east side will require a permit from 1st of March to 30th of September, which is why we didn't really wild camp. We didn't apply for the permit, we didn't really know that you had to. So that's one thing to note. If you want to like be lakeside and you don't want to live at a campground, you should definitely look into it. I'll post a link as well so you can apply for the permit. Point number 2, food and water. The question is always, do you need a water filter? And the short answer would definitely be a no. There is plenty of like bathrooms, hostels, hotels, water sources like water fountains along the trail. So you don't really need, and also there's honesty boxes, which is just like this whole other thing that I really enjoyed. But so you don't really need a water filter. You could bring one. We actually brought one. We never used it because we were just on the safe side. We didn't know if you had to use it, but you don't. You definitely don't need one. If you want to train your skills in using one, you should definitely bring one. It's not important at all, but you should just think about that. Food again, as I said earlier, with the water source, it's not a problem either, because you can just go to any restaurant along the trail. There'll be like a restaurant, a bar, or like a shop in like at every stop, and the farthest stop apart is around like, let me see, furthest stop you have to go is like 22.5 kilometers, and still in between those there probably will be shops, so this is not like a problem at all. I think we ourselves weren't this was the first like real hike we did, so we weren't really prepared that much. So at the last stretch we actually ran out of food, which made us a bit grumpy, but like, we didn't die. So also, if you live on a plant-based diet or a vegan or something like that, very much possible as well. Like most restaurants had vegan options all around, so that was, again, no problem. You should definitely not worry about food or water while doing this. And then was the honesty boxes, which is just like this amazing thing, almost like trail magic, but not quite. You still have to pay for things. An honesty box is just a box full of like snacks and food and drinks that you just pay for, like out in the most remote places you could imagine. And the honesty part comes in that you can actually just take the things. You should never do that, because then probably people will stop putting it up. So you should definitely pay for things, but it's really cheap. It's like £1 for a soda and stuff like that. Then point number 3, weather. It's Scotland. I mean, what do you expect? But for real though, look at the local weather forecast just to be sure like how the weather will be, because when we walked, of course it rained, but most of the time it was just like all day drizzles, so we didn't like get soaked. There was a like couple of times where it really poured, like when we got down from Connick Hill. That was insane. But then we could go straight into the Oak Tree Inn and like have a nice dinner and wait the rain out, and when we were done eating and drinking, we were just like fine. So I would recommend that you look at the local weather forecast for like each city, because they can vary a lot because of the hills and stuff like that. They can shield for different aspects of the weather. But definitely, especially look at the night weather forecast, because we did not do that. So we were packed in all the wrong ways for the night. We were extremely cold some of the nights, and I had to give my girlfriend all of my clothes, and I was freezing my tits off. But that was generally my own fault. I could just have checked up on this, and we did bring, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it was like a 20-30 degrees Celsius sleeping bag. I will probably write somewhere here what it is in Fahrenheit, because I don't know on the top of my head. So you shouldn't bring that. It's probably even in the summer it's gonna be pretty cold at night. But just heads up, look at the weather, bring whatever clothes fits whatever you're seeing. Point number 4, transport. This is split into 2 sections. First of all, baggage transfers is an awesome thing that they're doing along the trail for people who don't want to carry their bags, who can't carry their bags, or just want another way to experience the hike. We did not use one, so I will not recommend anyone. That would be weird of me. But you can just Google baggage transfers West Highland Way, and that will pop up a bunch of them, and you can choose your own liking. And the way it works is that you give them your baggage, and they take it from one stop to another stop, and you just tell them where you're getting off, bring it directly to the hostel or campground you're staying at. And we saw a lot of people using this service, and it worked great for them because they didn't want to carry all their bags. One of them was from South Africa, so she had a lot of baggage because she wanted to have a vacation afterwards. So that's also where you can experience this amazing trail and still be able to hike with all your things. To sum it up, baggage transfer and also transport to and from the trail is available through these services. How we got to the trail wasn't through one of these services. We actually just took the train directly from Edinburgh to Mulgai, which was around 1 hour and 45 minutes. It cost us around £17 to get all the way from Edinburgh to Mulgai. And then from when we actually got to Fort William, it costed us each £24.5 to get back again to Edinburgh. So it's quite cheap. I think you don't get it much cheaper than that. And then You could look at all the other options, but I think train and bus is actually both the cheapest and also the easiest way because they go directly. Of course, if you're not living in Edinburgh or staying in Edinburgh, you should be prepared to look at where you're coming from. But I know most of you probably staying at either Edinburgh or Glasgow, and it's super easy to get to the trail. You just have to go look at the train times. We didn't actually look it up, we just went to the station, looked when is the next train, and we were really lucky that it was just arriving. But the next train had probably been there in like in half an hour or so. So just look at the trains, look at the times, get to it, get to the trail, hike your hike. It's really easy. Point number 5. Midges and insects in general. Midges, first of all, is these little tiny devils which is biting at you like it was the last meal of their life. It's insane, but it's really easy to avoid them, especially if you're going in September. For us it was really easy. I would bet that there's other times a year that is way worse, and they are affected by the weather a lot. So if you go on a sunny, windy, if you go on a dry, sunny, windy day, they will. If you're on a sunny, dry, windy day, they will not be. They hate sunny, dry, windy days. So if you go on one of those days, it would be really easy to avoid the midges. Also, I would recommend that you bring like a mosquito net for your face. If for the place that gets really bad, we were told that at Bangladesh farms, like no matter how the weather is, that's just where they stay because it's like kind of boxed in between all of the hills around it, so they can just really thrive in there. And there was a lot of them, even though we were told there wouldn't really be any. So if that was the case for not really being any of them, I would just imagine how it is if it's a bad time of the year. So definitely bring a mosquito net. And also, I recommend that you buy the Midge, which is a specifically designed bug repellent for midges. So buy this Midge, get a mosquito net, and just try to enjoy the hike as much as possible. I will link to a Midge weather forecast, or Midge forecast, which will show you when and where the midges are worst right now. We used it, but it wasn't really important to us because everywhere was fine. But it's a nice tool to look ahead to see would I be needing to put on my Midge repellent today, or should I just don't, because it can be such a nuisance just to put it on, because don't really need it for insects. We weren't bothered at all by any other insects on the whole trail. Again, it could be the season. There could be any other parts that's really bad because you are walking along a loch. Draw them in, especially I think in the summertime. I would recommend that you bring some kind of bug repellent, and especially still, like no matter what, just bring the mosquito net for your face because it's freaking annoying to deal with, like stuff flying into your face all the time. So ticks. Ticks is one of the insects that you should be a lookout out for, like no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, because they can carry Lyme disease, which is just awful and can be really, really bad at times. My girlfriend only got bit by a tick once the whole trail, so it wasn't that bad for us. And I didn't even see one other than the one on her. So I would say that it's not like the end of the world with ticks, but just be on the lookout. Like show caution and check yourself every night if it's possible for you to do that. And then the last part here is just like my final thoughts and also how difficult I feel like the trail is. This is an amazing trail. It's really, really beautiful. And it's one of the best, I would say, beginner trails for people who want to try something a little bit more difficult than they're used to on regular day hikes without getting too far out of their comfort zones. And it's really up to you how you want to do it. Do you want to like wild camp, only cook your own food, filter water and all those things? Or do you want to go the glamping way and stay at hostels, have a nice warm bed every night? Get your baggage carried all the way to the end? Or do you want something in between? Well, Goldilocks, it's totally up to you. And you should really just do what you want to do, or hike your own hike and think about that and meet all the people out there and have an open mind to everyone. We met some great people along the way. So I think it's just like important that you take the time along the trail to really enjoy the scenery, because it is beautiful. like no matter what time of year. I think like the giant hills and the beautiful lochs and everything like that, you should just try to enjoy it as much as possible. I will say some parts of the trail are quite tricky, like Conic Hill and Devil's Staircase, and some of the parts along Loch Lomond, like up and down all the time. So that was really difficult some days. I think you should do Conic Hill to just test yourself to see if you're ready for the rest of the trail, because it is a tough part, but if you can manage that, I think you can pretty much manage the rest of it. And then you get this nice treat at the end of the Conic Hill. When you get down, you get to the Oak Tree Inn, which is a nice bar and restaurant. So I think that was like the 5 most important things that you have to keep in mind while planning your hike. I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. And also, a special announcement, if you didn't know already, I am planning with my girlfriend to walk the Appalachian Trail. Appalachian Trail? On the 30th of March, we will be flying all the way to Atlanta. I live in Denmark, if you didn't know by my weird accent or my slaughter of the English language. And we will walk the whole way, and I will be vlogging it and videoing it. So if you could just go ahead and like and subscribe to this video, that would be amazing, so you can follow along. Thank you very much. See you on the trail.